It's been rolling this whole time?
Not the whole time. We gotta get some B-rolls, you know?
I figured I'd start off with Rick and Morty on the shirt. I was gonna come wearing this. I was gonna wear this. Brother to brother, you see? I'm only doing messing around like this because I know it's so the camera's still rolling. You know those blooper after takes?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Shout out to the intro. Welcome to Rich Talks, podcast where we do music commentary, cultural commentary, deep dives, and just interesting topics in general. I'm your host, Unc, aka Ree. Now let's get into it.
Unc? You're an uncle?
Unc. I've been an Unc since I've been 16. We're in it, right?
Okay.
Welcome to part 2, y'all. We're right into it, getting straight into it, man. This is part 2 of the Unchecked therapy episode with my guest, Jamario, over here. You know, we were kind of discussing a little bit about, I'd say his mental health, if you will, you know, a little bit.
Yeah,
because it was kind of like a serious topic, a little bit, that scenario that you're dealing with. You want to kind of give the audience a little refresher a little bit before we like go into it? Or
bad. Good thing I didn't share this link to too many people so far. I was watching the last episode. So a bit of a snapshot. I recently had experienced the most devastating news any man could really hear is to have your wife tell you she had an affair.
Crazy.
Then to find out also that this was a 6-year secret that I have known about. So she had told me 6 years later after the fact. And then just going through details of what happened, how happened, and all this other stuff, to then go and transition to how do I maintain my mental sanity? What do I do afterwards? That's kind of where I'm at right now, is what do I do afterwards? But it's been a nightmare process. I'll tell you that. I'll be real. It's been chaotic. When I tell friends, I haven't told very many, but when the friends I told, I'm like, even just listening to their comments and what they say, they're like, man, I don't know how I would have done that. And that's the thing. That's kind of why I agreed to do this, because this is like, realistically, I would have kicked their ass to the curb. I'll be for real.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it was me, it'd been like, you're stronger than me in that aspect.
So,
I'm a selfish guy.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this last night too. Like, you know, maybe I should have just done that, right? Because it's causing a lot of rift, just the back and forth between us. You know, but being a man of my word, I said, look, man, I was gonna do this thing. We're gonna do this thing. So if it gets down to it, and it's just not happening, it's not happening. But that journey is stressful. I know not every man would definitely handle it the way I did.
Certainly not me.
Especially, and even just my thoughts on the side, like, if I really were to say, look, if I didn't agree to do this, if I didn't say I was gonna, hey, we're gonna figure this out, what would I really be thinking right now? And those thoughts are wicked, man. Like, I'm just like, but the fear of going through that process, that divorce process, that separation process, her sister is going through the same shit. So
really?
They're already separated. They sold the house and everything. So like,
was it also infidelity based, or
I don't know the real DNA behind it all, but like, I do know that there are some complications that have been over the years.
They're just going through their own issues.
Yeah, they've got their own separate issues, but I'm not doubtful that there was. I have assumptions. I have assumptions that there possibly could be a little bit of that in there, but I'm not gonna dig deep into that area.
You don't need to.
But I do know that they're under separation. They sold the house. She's got her apartment somewhere else, and he's got his own house elsewhere. So to see that, and not be her sister, and hearing of all the stuff that's been happening just throughout our marriage, listening to their struggles, I'm like, do I really want to get into that? Right? I mean, the plus side, no kids, so there is a little bit of a safety net for me.
Does the sister have kids?
No. Well, for her, the sister, yeah, she has twins. they're like in college now, but like, but with us, we don't have kids. We just have a dog. He's like a child, but unfortunately, not we don't have a human child. So there's a little bit of a safety net for me, but it's just like thought process is almost like that butterfly effect I have every day, where I'm thinking of the different possibilities based on what choices that I have given at the time.
Yeah.
What variables did it go branch out to? What would my life look like if I went this way? I already see what my life looks like now, staying in this situation, but what would that paradox be for me on the flip side if because I really did think about doing that. And I really tried to find a reason to say, look, I'm out of here, right? The part of me that I'm guilty about in terms to my actions and how that pushed her emotionally in a different direction, if it wasn't for that, if that wasn't for that aspect, I was the kind of husband I should be now. I was that then, and this still happened. There's no doubt in my mind I would have kicked her ass out, because there's nothing that I can say that I did wrong that warranted your behavior.
So are you saying you're taking accountability for maybe you did some things that led her to or pushed her to that?
Yeah, so this is why we say unchecked therapy. But I took therapy on, I think, I started my job January 2022. So I didn't start taking therapy until maybe that August, that summer. So it was just before the car accident. That was before the buddy incident at the restaurant, and that was before I even knew he worked there. That was before she even told me about everything.
That story's still crazy.
So months before, and then I find this out. So imagine if I didn't start therapy earlier, and then I find this out, and I'm not in therapy. There's no way in hell I would have thought about myself long before all this shit.
Yeah.
I'd have been bye.
Would have been like, bitch, I'm Jamaican. This ain't happening.
Right. I'd have been bye. So August, September, October, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. 7 months.
Damn.
So she told me, and I delayed the therapy sessions 7 months before she told me, there's no way in hell I'd still be with her. Because I was not thinking of us or me. I was thinking about you and you being the problem. Right? And then to tell me that, I'm going to be angry. Right? So the therapy I went through, first thing that my therapist had me look into was self, because obviously mental health is important, but self-checking, self-reflection, right? So, and these things had me think of myself, things that I was not doing great, and I decided to do therapy because I saw a relationship being in going downhill. Like, I knew that it was in a bad state, but for me, I just felt like if I don't do something soon, something's gonna happen. And this actually happened long before I joined therapy. I had a good friend that I went to school with. I don't know if you know. Did he know? You know. He's a friend of mine, an old coworker. He's now like a personal trainer. So he's been kind of doing the personal fitness program for at least a year prior to therapy. Sometimes I would talk to him about the relationship stuff that we're having, and I mean, he's not a therapist or anything, but it was good to at least talk to somebody.
That's outside of...
Right, and I was noticing, just because I didn't know any of this, I was like, man, like our relationship's bad, we don't talk that much, we don't connect, but this and that. So he would give me some tips to maybe try this, try that, or this and that. And this whole time, this buddy was been working with her at this new place, so I didn't even know. So all this started from there, me just trying to find a way to repair the relationship, right? I started thinking maybe there's gotta be something I'm not doing. Maybe I should try this, maybe try that. I bought a Nintendo Switch. I don't even play the thing very much, but I bought it because she had a work trip that rewarded her for a big project she completed.
Right.
So like, here, we'll give you a free weekend at a golf resort. Perfect. I said, you know, it's an opportunity. We can use this as an opportunity, maybe reconnect. Bought a Switch. Figured, you know, hey, well, she doesn't play video games much. She's not gonna but she knows Mario Kart. She's heard of that before. Let's try that. Let's do something interactive together about that.
To like get that reconnection back to it.
Right? So that was August. Then of course September
2022.
Yeah, that was no, August 2021.
Okay.
And then the following year, then the accident and all this other shit. So I was already looking for a way to find a way to fix things. And then did the therapy. And then the therapy led to self-reflection, which I started looking at myself. What was I doing that could have caused the disconnect? Right?
Right.
So all of these things is why I'm also still here trying to fix this relationship even afterwards.
Yeah, because
I
self-reflection, that journey never really ends. Like, it's never supposed to end because nobody's perfect. You're not trying to become a perfect person. You're just trying to be a little better than you were yesterday.
Yeah. Right? So with that self-reflection, I was able to see, okay, what did I contribute? Because relationships is twofold, right? There's always two sides to every coin.
Yep.
So you know, two-faced coins got scratches on one side, right? So I got scratches on one side and it's not on the other. So I gotta fix the scratches. So I gotta buff it up, polish it up. So I'm seeing all these things that I was doing. So, which makes me mad because
at yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm mad at myself because if I was a bit better of a person that I am now, like if I was doing these things now, I was doing then I wouldn't be so guilty about it, this whole scenario.
But isn't that always like the hindsight thing? We always think about like during a breakup, for example, right? It's like, oh, now I'm thinking about all the things that I could have changed. Then you start making changes to that so you could be that better person for the next person. And like maybe sometimes the ex just happens to feel worse because like, yo, why didn't you do all that when I was telling you to do it? And then it took me like leaving for you to actually start doing that work.
Those I told you so moments.
Sometimes you start feeling a way about that. I'm like, but then you don't want to go back. Like
you don't want to go back.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Like to file divorce and go that route, it's like you can't go back to this. I told her that. I'm like, if we do this thing, like there's no coming back to it, and I'm at a point where I feel like I'm stuck because
you guys have actually like discussed actual divorce, not just because I know you guys are really religious, so for me it was always a thing where it's like maybe you guys are just stuck in that way where it's like, no, God does not want you to get a divorce. You're never going to get a divorce no matter what points of the marriage it is. Like I don't know. I didn't think like you guys actually considered or talked about it. Right?
We did talk about it, especially afterwards. We talked about it. But there's been times where we get in a heated argument or a heated conversation and whatnot, and she'll come out and say it a few times at least. And even suggest in that moment that maybe if you're not happy, I'm not making you happy, maybe you should be with someone that does make you happy. Like she would say it that way, because it's like, okay, well, obviously the problem's me. Then maybe you should find someone that will make you happy, because I'm not doing it. And I would, and she would say it because I say this, things I'm not happy with. So we do talk about it, more so recently, like since she's confessed all this shit now. But like before, we wouldn't really have divorce conversations, and we'd have arguments, and then that would just out of the blue come out.
But let me ask you this: is because I've never really understood that sentence whenever somebody would say it in an argument, because I've obviously had that said to me in an argument before too, but it's like, I don't think we're supposed to be happy all the time. Like we have all these different emotions for a reason. Like there's a reason we are able to express these other emotions, and when we actually do express how we feel, most of the time we do feel better about like the thing, because like, yo, I just got off that emotion, I got off that little bit of anger, now I feel a little better. I'm not happy, but I feel better than I was before. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be this happy-go-lucky person all the time, because that just seems fake.
Yeah.
And nobody likes the guy that's always happy, because like you don't trust that person.
Right, but I wouldn't just say always happy, but there's got to be a sense of happiness somewhere. Like there was no happiness at all, right? And that's why they say unhappily married versus happily married. With that context, I look at that as you don't have to necessarily be happy all the time, but most of the time. Right? If you're unhappy in the marriage, but not mostly unhappy, then you're still okay.
Is it about happiness or contentment though?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. But if you're just content and you're not happy or unhappy, you're just content, then that's not really a real relationship. Really, you're just a roommate. We just coexist.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
And a marriage should really just be, like 50-50. Like, I have your back, you have my back. I'm struggling.
I wouldn't say it should be 50-50. It should be 100-100 all the time.
Well,
I'm putting yourself into that person, and they're putting themselves right back into you.
But as a whole, because marriage is looked at as a whole, right?
Right.
So even though 50% me, 50% her, we're as a couple 100%. You still got to give your 100% into it.
Yeah.
But I look at it as
it makes up a 50% of the entire
of the entirety, right?
But you're still giving 100%.
You're still giving 100%.
Just want to clear that for the audience.
Oh, okay.
People always do that 50-50 thing. Like, no, you have to give 100%.
Yeah.
At all times.
So to reiterate that, so I was giving 100% of myself. She has to give 100% of herself. But when you look at a marriage, you're looked at as a single unit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So with her having my last name, that just means that she's also a byproduct of myself. Yeah. Another extension of that. So that's why I mean with the 50-50 thing. So you can be content and unhappy. You can be content and happy. I don't know. Content and
unhappy though.
Yeah, you can, because it's almost like a state of being numb, right? And those are really bad relations to be in. And usually I find that women would be more so the content and unhappy, because they want it to work, but they don't want to leave, but they, you know what I mean, until something drastic happens, and then that's when they're like, okay, I've had enough.
Wouldn't that be more of like, I don't feel like if you're content and unhappy, that's not really love. Like, it's not. It's like indifference at that point. And you're
basically roommating.
It's like you're just there like for that job where it's like it's just a job, not your career.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm just here for the paycheck.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're just roommates. You're just kind of coexist in the same place. We got responsibilities, which is what was happening. Right? You go to work, you pay the bills. I go to work, we do whatever, and then we take care of the dog. But we don't interact. Right? You come home, I just say hi, and that's it. You go in the room, I'm on the video games, right? Weekend comes out, I might be playing video games on a separate monitor. She's watching TV on the couch, but we said nothing to each other all day. We just exist in the same place, but we're not engaging, interacting.
Like, you guys aren't engaging, like you're not like expressing like, oh, that thing you're doing is annoying me, or
we don't even talk.
Because even that shows like some kind of love, like not showing any type of like acknowledgement of each other is just wild. That's not even roommates. I don't even know what you guys are like.
Here's the weird part. But even though that was the dynamic mostly, we would still talk. If I had something to say, I'd say it. I don't mind her being in my space. She's not bothering me. I'm in her space, I'm not bothering her, but we would talk. She'd have something to say, I'd just listen. But we wouldn't actually like.
What was like
the interaction is just based on a topic, like
hey, like robotic. Like there's no emotion behind like the things you guys are discussing, or
like we didn't talk about real topics that we needed to talk about. We usually just like, hey, I'm planning to go here. We're doing this. We're doing that. Or grocery shopping. We're going through a list. Or hey, my family's had this event here. We're doing this. Right? Here's my schedule, whatever, this and that. Or so it's just on a neat, like as something's happening, but there's no me coming out. There's no me sharing. There's none of that interaction in itself. It's just dialogue. So almost robotic, but not necessarily. So that's why I said you're just basically living with a roommate, right? I'm sitting on the couch watching TV or playing a game. You come home, you're just on the computer, like, hey, what's up, man? Hey. Right? You're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, but we're in the same space. Right? It's not like you're invading my space.
It doesn't feel like no. But at the same time, it's like
it's just very
I
like
prefer not to have you in my space type of thing, or
it's like a
you're just there.
You're just there. Yeah. You're physically there, but you're mentally somewhere else. Right? So it's almost like you're spaced up, but not really. You're just in your own zone, your own bubble, right? I need to go somewhere. I just get up, man. All right, I'll be back. Sometimes
letting them know,
well, sometimes I'm gonna say that. She'd be watching TV. I just come out of the shower, do something in the kitchen, whatever, and then I just all right.
It's almost like when we were kids and we had to deal with like absentee parents, like when we were teenage age,
like brother and
parents right now.
Like brother and sister. Sometimes you get mad at your brother, you don't want to talk to him for 2 days, right?
Yeah.
But it's
But you still have to interact with him here and there.
because she started as his best friend, then she was the girlfriend, then she was the fiance, now she's the wife. So it's all the same person. So
But you should have never left the best friend part, right? And like you guys,
right there,
just doing that, turning into roommates, like that's where the dynamic changed, isn't it?
That's where things that I noticed that was missing, that element there. So, and that's another reason why it's a struggle for me, because I'm trying to find that.
I'm trying to bring that back.
I'm trying to find that.
Yeah.
Because what I said, why I stayed is because, one, I'm trying to look for reasons to leave, but I'm also looking for reasons to stay. Right? So I'm looking for reasons to stay now is looking at all the things that I enjoyed and wanted. I start thinking about what our dating days were like. I start thinking about the best friend moments. I start thinking about all those things. But I'm looking for reasons to leave. I'm looking at, man, you did all this, and during all this during this time, and left me in the dark, blah, 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 blah. So I'm just looking for anything that's not true that she's saying. I'm trying to find something else that may convince me enough to say, okay, you know what? I've heard all I need to hear. This was it right here. That's why I want to confront Buddy. Not necessarily to kill him. I mean, she did tell me something I wish she never told me, but she said he's got some kidney issues. So I'm like, well, kidney shot, that's all I need to take for me. I don't even have to go for the face, right to the kidney, bye.
I get that too, because like the fact is, it wasn't just her infidelity. He was also
doing the same thing with his own wife.
That's crazy.
Like, and the fact is that we met. He got to see me because he had to drop her off. So he got to see me. He knows about me for whatever she told him about me. Right? So he knows enough of me.
I don't know what he said.
I don't know what she said.
Because like sometimes like
I don't know what they've shared.
Exactly, because people will skew things.
And the fact that they are
on their side,
the fact that they're married and had their own marriages to work with, what part of that marriage are they sharing with the other person?
So she was aware that he was also married. Has she met his wife before? Probably
She says no. Right? She says no, but how do I know? I can't trust the thing she says, so how do I know? So, and that's the thing, I don't know what she shared of me or the relationship in general, but he knows enough. And I know enough about him through things that she said over the years up until that point. So, me confronting him now is not just to try to beat his head in. I mean, I think of doing the same thing, but to also hear his side of the story. So maybe depending on what's said, maybe. But I really just want to hear his side of the story to see what checks out, because I know she has memory issues.
Your wife has memory issues?
Yeah, she won't admit it, but like I wouldn't say issues, but she only remembers things that are actually important. Important things.
That's a normal thing. Like
so I'll tell her, I'm like, hey man, I remember this because we drove here, and this is like last week. No, I don't remember.
Like the littlest thing.
I don't know. Because it's little things to her. I'll remember everything in detail in general. She only remembers things that she feels that's important for her to remember or know. Right? So anything that's useless or meaningless or whatever, she's
goldfish memory.
Yeah, right? Goldfish memory. I like that. So she wouldn't remember some of those things. So I'm like, well, if you think 6 years, you can expect her to try and recount 6 years worth of what?
I mean,
so
wouldn't every one of those interactions be like important? Like
it would
things
be
to avoid, right? Like how do I avoid?
But then again, even just some of the situations you got herself into, I'm like, well, you didn't pursue him. Obviously, he's pursuing you, but you just allow it because you're liking the attention.
Did they go on dates?
I don't know. It may seem like that, but I think they had a small group of friends from work, and sometimes they would have group outings. I wouldn't consider it, but I mean, you probably know there's also group dates. There's always group dates, but I don't know if that would be the thing. I don't think they were dating per se, but they definitely hung out in those group settings from work co-workers. They might have work events because they work together, so they might have stuff like that, but I don't see it as they go out purposely for dates. They probably go out to see each other to do whatever.
Was there overnight stays?
No overnight stays or anything like that. aside from the time that she, ended up being at a hotel. One of them I only knew about. She was gone a second time, but the stories that she would spin me, if she needed to go somewhere, she would say, "Oh, I'm gonna be, this with my sister, or I'll be here with whatever." And but usually she'd come back. There's very rare times she would actually stay at a family's place, right? So I'm surprised I didn't know about that one incident. But the fact that she deleted all of the information and then come tell me, which makes me feel maybe I should check in with Buddy, because what if something else she's not telling me? Because as much as she says this is what happened, I'll tell you right now, to tell me, hey, there was one time where he just wanted me to sit on to see what it felt like. I just sat down and then I got up and nothing happened. To expect me to believe that that's actually what happened?
Certainly not.
Maybe it did. Maybe it did. Okay, fine.
That sounds like
it just sounds
rare possible thing.
It's a very rare scenario.
Considering there's already sexual tension there.
Not just sexual tension. Just you're already there. He's there. You sat on it. He's already in there. So to tell me that you just sat down and got up and that's it, I find it very difficult to believe. It's not a scenario that I see as well. For me, I'm thinking if you're already there, I mean, might as well just finish the job. You're there. It's unlikely, but it's not possible. But it's hard for me to believe, considering. So. Yeah, to remember certain details, if things checked out, okay, maybe he might say something. All right, now let me question this and see how she responds to that. She deleted everything anyway, so I thought of asking her to. Well,
that's the other side.
He probably did, because she told me that they would send videos through Instagram to each other, and he would delete the videos after she sent it to him. Right, she already said his wife already questioned. He already questioned her sending e-transfers to him because her name comes up.
Yeah, of course.
And she's probably going to see that. Who is this person sending you money, right? So he tried covering his own tracks. So the question is, what is it his wife doesn't know? Probably still doesn't.
Wait.
So he's trying to cover himself up.
Let's pull it back for a second. She sent him e-transfers? Why is she sending him money? Christmas will come up, so you send a gift. She would send. So that's a little close for just coworkers.
Well, no,
how's that not a red flag on you guys' side?
No, well, she would send to her other coworkers too. She would buy him a gift card here and this and that. So okay. Right. So if she didn't
why really e-transfers and not actual gift cards? If they all are coworkers that work together, you could hand them each a gift card.
You could. She would buy the gift cards and get them and hand it to them.
For me, it would have been suspicious, and I'm not really suspicious.
Unless, for example, let's say you bought gift cards, but let's say you forgot somebody or this person's not here. Okay, well, you know what? It's Christmas. You're not going to be around for a bit. Okay, fine. Just send it. Right? But they would book for something. Hey, I paid for something. It could be work related. Okay, can you spot me? Sure. Right?
Okay,
we're co-workers. We can do. So it's more of those type of things.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm just sending you money to be a side chick, this and that. It wasn't like that. But so he had to tell her look, because she checks up on stuff. And to give her and he saved her at a different name as Jones. I'm like, this is a random name because
questionable. But all right, go on.
There's apparently some sort of inside joke
with
where that comes in. Okay. But it's like a fake last name, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking all the things that comes with the name Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Not just that.
Jonesing. Yeah.
Right. So
Jones is the first thing I thought, but I just said it.
It's like a quote unquote something happening with that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's anything that checks out, because I'm just trying to find out what really happened, and it's going to be hard because she's trying to remember really horrible details that you don't even want to share, but he's asking. You're trying to, I gotta.
You really don't even want to hear it.
You don't even want to hear it, but then you gotta tell the person on top of it. So just understanding on her perspective, having to go through the mental journey and think back on all those times that you really didn't want to get into, but you're in it because he's asking you for it now, and struggling trying to remember stuff that you wish you could remember for him. But I mean, yeah, it was your damn fault for deleting everything in the first place. Who told you to do that? But I think if I saw everything that was there, and at least I knew that there was everything on the table, the fact that being deleted just tells me that what more are you not telling me? That's what it's telling me.
So right? I got a real question. Considering like the fact that you have that in your head that she deleted everything, did you ever ask her if he was literally the only one?
Oh yeah,
that's probably like a tough question to ask.
Oh yeah,
yo, was he really the only one?
I didn't ask her if he was the only one, but I said, well, how do you know that you are not the only one he's doing this to?
Oh, forget him. It's more so like what she's doing to you, though.
Right, but here's my thing with her. It's like, because she was at one point defending him. Because I told her what I'd be looking at. It's like I found I got his address, I got his number, I found photos on Facebook that shows where his house is. I looked at I could see.
Oh, you doxed?
Bro, I filed and taxed his ass. Okay.
Oh shit.
I profiled and taxed his ass.
So damn, don't mess with the fraud department, man. God damn, they'll find everything.
Not only do I had his he doesn't have social media. He's got one Facebook. It's like one of those Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Right. And then I see that he's got his Nike Fit, his Apple Fit type of thing, and you can see the map. So I was going through photos, and I looked at the photo. I'm like, I know that street.
Wait, so you know where he runs? Like where he does his run?
So because of that was posted on there, I screenshot that and I looked, and I actually had to go on Google Maps and search the shit out. He took a photo behind the house, and I could see a number on the house.
Detective, yo.
I saw a number on the back of the house that went there, and I said, okay, that's the house number. Looked at the map, it's okay, Google Maps, looked at all the different house numbers, I'm like, he's somewhere over there. She told me something about his car color being like some sort of silver car. She was getting paranoid that he might be driving down the street. I said, what car does he have? Oh, Mercedes. I'm like, oh, okay. What color is it? It's like a silver. So I'm like, okay. So that was already said.
This nigga turned to Batman, yo.
I found him on Instagram. I found family members that also have the same last name, so that are on there.
But I thought he didn't have social media, but he's on Instagram. Interesting.
It's one of those like fan.
Just tagged into pictures.
It's like a fan type of profile, not a personal profile. Right. Both of them like that.
Still.
So seeing that, I see family members with the same last name. I see a photo of a woman that has a child that looks like him. I sent it to her. I said, "Hey, is that the person?" "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "Okay." So he's never shown photos of him and family and their kids. But you know he's got kids. You don't know what they look like. But
that man has an office at that job. There's no way he doesn't have a picture of his wife and kid at his desk. Like, come on.
So I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, okay, well, at some point you can't tell me you haven't seen anything like that. Brother man, you've probably even seen a photo of me somewhere. So it's hard for me to not know. So I kind of took it for what she said. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go there, but I'm gonna forget. So seeing that, I said I can blow up his spot with that. I have his number. I can always go to a pay-as-you-go phone plan place. Take my old iPhone, put a number in there. Take a photo of her she used on a thing, and say, oh hey, this is my new number.
Yo, don't turn into Jason Bourne now.
I would literally catfish his ass someplace, come out the car and be like, hey, what's up?
This is Toronto, nigga. No,
I ain't scared of his ass. Fuck out of here with him, man.
Oh my god.
Oh, sorry. This is
no. It's cool, man. It's cool.
It's 18 plus.
Say what you want, man.
But yeah. So I thought of confronting him just to find out what his side of the story is. And for me, it's not whether I care what he said or not. It's to help me determine what.
You just want to confirm
some things.
Yeah.
Because I've already been profiling, analyzing everything that I've been with her this whole time. So I'm trying to find a reason to say, is this really worth staying? The fact that you had to in order to manipulate the whole scenario, even though she doesn't want to admit it, that she's still lying to her parents, I still like, you're lying to your parents. Right?
So she's still not taking full accountability then, you're saying?
And the fact that you don't want your parents to know, you don't want to tell your family or anything like that, and this and that, I get it, there's a sense of secrecy and a sense of privacy. But in the situation like that, there are parts of your marriage you don't just broadcast to all your friends and family.
Oh yeah.
You got to keep it for yourself.
Absolutely not.
But this particular situation, right, which is why I don't feel comfortable being around her family, because I'm like, I feel like I'm just going to be fake. If they ask me how I'm feeling and I'm not feeling too good, let's say we had a bad counseling session, right? I'm going to be like, what, feeling good? No. So
I mean, sometimes that's the go-to, because you just don't want to like explain all of the thing. Just say I'm fine, so they just shut down the conversation. Like,
yeah, but they
sometimes
definitely
that's the go-to, right?
They definitely know that something's not right.
Something's not right. Like,
And
do they probe?
They do and they don't. Right? Like they used to for a while, like, but I don't know if they still do. But they definitely question, because I mean, yeah, her mom would ask her, it's like, oh, something's wrong. No, we're great. And then I just show up and I just have this big smile on my face, but it's like, it just. But this is now where it's a little bothersome to do that. Whereas before I didn't know what was happening then.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable knowing that things aren't great, but hey, I'm doing all right, right? Whereas now I'm not doing all right, and we're still here. So if you ask me, the story is different, but do I tell you, do I not tell you? So it's hard to be feeling one way and being in the presence. It's like, look, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. Her sister goes to her church. I'm like, and that's another reason why I haven't gone back. You know, there's still family there. So it's hard to still manage. So I have to try and scan out everything. Like, what is really worth staying here, right? This is because you had to go through all this, kept us all in the dark. You being a ministry leader and this and that in church, teaching young folk about relationships and this and that, and you're the one also guilty of doing these things at the same time. Manipulating
sometimes
me.
the most vocal people in that regard that push for things like that are the culprits.
But all of this being said and done, and then still come home and to me, and it's like, how does this be a 3-year thing? Right? Like I told her, I'm like, if you were to go, I would have rather you just bring divorce papers, sign it, and put it in my face.
Or just say we need separation or something.
Not even that. Just take the paper, sign divorce, here, sign it. Just do that.
I mean,
Then to go,
process, man.
Then to go that route.
Yeah, no, I feel you there.
I would have much rather you hand me this paperwork and say, look, okay, we're done, than to go and do what you did.
Yeah. I fully agree.
Because then I could just say, look, whatever you do is on you. I'm out of here, right? I'm still here, so I kind of have to take that too. And it's getting to a point where I'm getting tired of it. So for me, I'm looking at reasons to stay, reasons to leave, and I'm looking at all this stuff. So that's what I'm saying. It's 50-50 point. I'm looking at the stuff that I see that makes it worth staying. And it also looked at things that are worth leaving. And even though it's just one incident, how it was done, the way it was done, and what was done. And then still wait until it's provoked to tell me.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about that piece in terms of, and I'm like, you know what, God was trying to get her attention and get my attention in different ways. And we weren't really responding. It's not like she said it herself, which really makes it harder now. But God doesn't intervene with people's free will. He's not gonna make you do something, right? Like he will watch you. He will watch you. He knows you have free will to decide, right? It's like the whole Adam and Eve thing, right? We have free will. That is our gift. He can't manipulate that. He can send reminders. He can make things visible. He can show you things, right? But if you're still, it's not like he can't do it for you. You have to do it. So, in a sense of me having reminders from God for many years, she also had those too. Car accident. Like, you know, that was like a clear sign. Then our friend gets a dream that confronts her about it. Like a month after that. Like obviously somebody's trying to get your attention, right?
Yeah.
So then it did provoke her to say something, but it took 6 years. For me, I know it's like
6 years, man.
For me, it's like, okay, my stepdad, we will have another talk about family because he's part of the problem. So he told me, if anything, if you're gonna be a man, be a man, right? If you say you're gonna do something,
what does that actually mean?
If you're
we've always heard that
man
since
up,
we've been growing up, right?
Man up.
So that's suppressing how we feel all the time.
Things are hard, but you know what? You gotta man up. You gotta be a man about it, right?
Yeah.
Things are difficult. You still gotta push through, right? It's tiring. You gotta push through. So it's struggles in our marriage where it's like, okay, sometimes I just have to bite the bullet and push through. But this situation, how do I be a man about it and push through the situation? Right? It's not an easy thing to get up every day and look at the person that you said to yourself, this is the love of my life, and see that this is what you did to me.
Shit.
And still say, can I love this person?
And still say, I still love this person. That's probably the toughest thing that a man has to do every
and it's
day,
a tough thing. It's a tough thing. But then also, you have to factor in that every human isn't perfect. And we will always make mistakes.
If we were perfect, then we wouldn't be here.
And we will all make mistakes. So, but also, that's why I said the starting thought for why I decided to stay is that this is not something that is of this person's character, because I've known this person X number of years. I've known her since 2007. This is not something of her character, because that's the kind of person that I know. What she did had to have been based off something else, right? And when women cheat, it's emotional first before physical. If it's physical first, then that person was a problem to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? So it definitely was emotion. With her, she's introverted. So how and it took her, she put me on a 6-month trial, when we dated. She was not going to show any interest at all for 6 months. She's like, if he's still interested in me in 6 months, then I'll turn. And it was at that critical breaking point, I was like, you know what, God, I ain't doing this no more. And then I got a call from her and we talked for hours. And I was like, you know what, I think she's feeling me now. Right? So just that kind of a person does not seem like someone that would reach out and go out and do these kind of things intentionally. That's why I know he pursued her. The problem is she gave him the key to the door by telling him of the dream she had, which involves feelings for him, right? And you're already friends. You're already casually close friends. Like you talk, you're really close, really, right? And then you tell him this stuff, and all of a sudden now this person's feeling a little bit of extra emotion and energy built into this. So now we're close, we're buddies, but also I got this vibe you're crushing me now.
That's crazy.
So when you tell him that, what do you think's gonna happen? He's gonna pick it up an extra notch. You guys go to the same place every day. You go to work together.
Because she's showing him.
And how is anybody in the family really gonna know when you work together? It's not like hey, I work here, you work here, but we gotta meet somewhere.
That's a scary thing.
You meet to the same place. Man. You meet in the same place. So it's easy to just kind of go and you guys sit in the parking lot, fool around, just before walking into work. You can meet someone on the way to work. I'll drive you here. So that part makes it easy for the thing to spread and not say anything, because you don't have to plan outside your normal schedule. So there's no way anyone would have known. So the problem that bothered me the most is not just how long it was done, but how it was done. Coming there, doing all this, then come home. I remember times she would say, "Oh, I need to go to the grocery store," or whatever. You don't hardly ever do that. I found that one of those trips that she made out was to go meet him somewhere.
Shit.
So I did ask all these questions and whatnot. So the emotion that led her that way was feeling disconnected from me. And that's that self-reflection aspect came in. I started noticing that there were times where I've had a friend tell me, "Hey, look, man, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to lose your wife." Right? He's told me that twice.
Interesting.
I've had dreams 3 times of her being in some sort of sexual encounter with somebody, and I don't even know what a face looked like. I just saw her and people and this and that, and this was the scenario.
And when those happened, did you tell her about
Oh
it?
yeah, but she not only looked terrified, but she also kind of looked very confused. Like, wow, where did this come from?
And this was in the midst of
all this, and thinking back on those moments when I shared the dream, like, yeah, it's almost like God gave me a vision that my wife was having an affair, and I tell you about it, and you really were doing it. So the look of terror in her face was like, wow, God showed me what you were doing, and you're in fear.
That's crazy.
And you still couldn't say anything.
That's actually crazy.
So seeing how she was able to do the things she was doing, and it's not like anyone would have known either. So wasn't listening to friends and family saying, hey, maybe you should try this, do this, that, or you lose your wife, whatever. She's also suggested things too. I was also angry because we weren't really fully physically living together, merging together. We weren't really listening to each other, respecting each other. And certain things I would say, like, hey, can you just not do this? Just in respect and listen to me. And you just carried on as if I said nothing, right?
And you didn't see that as a...
There were red flags, but we both didn't, when we talked, we said that we needed to work on the marriage and get some sort of support and help. We should have done the marital counseling then. And I think we tried, but it wasn't working. I was into it and she wasn't. So,
but being in the church, isn't there like a pre-marital counseling that the priest usually tells you guys to do?
I thought that there should have been a bit more as to not just before, but also what we should be doing and in terms of expectations afterwards. There was none of that because we only had that one session that day.
And there should have been a follow-up.
There should have been more. Well, these premarital sessions are usually like, I think maybe a week, 2 weeks or so, or whatever. There's a period of time you go and have these sessions long before. More than one at least.
But you guys only did one.
We only had the one. And there was nothing that I believe was said about how do we then go about things afterwards once we step across, once the wedding's finished and now life sets in. There was none of that, right? And my aunt told me very wise words. She's like, don't have kids right away. Wait 1 year until after you're married, then go from there. We lived in her cousin's basement for 1 year and they moved to an apartment. And we were thinking about it just before then. Then we moved to the apartment. All of a sudden, now life sets in. We have our own space. We have our own rent. We have our own jobs to go 2 different schedules. Life sets in, right? We didn't really have the know-how when it comes to maintaining a newly marriage afterwards. We didn't have any coaching for that. She would make suggestions and I don't like them. I would make suggestions, she don't like them. We never really put anything in place. We didn't talk to people. We just tried to figure it out where she'd give me suggestions and whatnot. But it started with the lack of respect when I would say, hey, can you just simply just not use the last friggin', stack in the box and leave the empty box there. Just throw it away. Because I go and I'm looking for something and I pick up the box and I'm like, the fuck is empty? What the hell you do that shit for? Right? Like, can you not do that? Turns to an argument. So if I'm not feeling she's listening to me, respecting me, and she's also getting the same feeling as well, we're not really connecting. How do we reconnect without having something in between to kind of put us in the same right path? So what happens is this drags on for years. Unchecked therapy for years. And then what happens is now when we're finally dealing with it, that's why it's harder now, because we're now trying to fix a marriage and also relationship that hasn't been nurtured or worked on in 16 years.
Okay. So do you regret you guys because I'm just saying, like, for me personally, I'm a big proponent of actually living with the person that you're going to be married to for at least some time, so you guys actually understand each other's mannerisms and everything when you guys wake up in the morning, because it's different when you guys don't live in the same place and you're calling each other first thing in the morning. You don't know that person, because when I pick up the phone in the morning, I'm literally different than how I am when I literally wake up in the morning, you know what I mean? Like, the person who's next to me in the morning is not going to get the same reaction than the person who's calling me on the phone in the morning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Or to see you at work or at the bus stop or at school. Or like, yeah, so it's that. So I can see why people tend to try to see if they can live together. This is more modernized now, but being very old school and also, you know, Christian principles, we don't.
You never saw it that way?
We like our Christian beliefs, we just don't engage until after. Like, we didn't even have sex at all until afterwards, until we got married. Like, that whole 4 years, nothing, right? Like,
but then after you guys did, like, after you guys, like, started living together, you're married and whatever.
Oh, yeah, then we're married at that point. But when we're not, we didn't do any of that stuff. So when it comes to, like, those kind of beliefs, living together and whatnot, I think that's why it took so long, because I was living with my aunt. She was living with her cousin in like a basement suite. So I would see her, and then of course I don't have a car. She didn't have a car, so we had to go by bus. I'd go see her, right? She didn't get a car until like 2009, end of 2008 actually. So up until she had her car, I was going to visit. So Brimley Bus doesn't run after a certain time.
Yeah.
So there's been times there's been times I'd be at her place. There's times I've been at her place and I have to walk home.
You didn't even take the Blue Night?
The Blue Night schedule was done, man. Not on that bus. It was done. So I'm like, all right. So, and that was a 2-hour walk. So there'd been, until she got her car, sometimes she would take me home, right? Go hang out at her place. She's sleeping, and then it's like, okay, well, I need to get back. You're snoring. So she'll drive me home. So until she had the car, so it was difficult to see living arrangement wise. We weren't really there very often, and she had a pretty busy schedule too. So to see what her living arrangement would be like, it was kind of very hard to profile, even during those 4 years.
But what about when you guys got engaged? Like,
it was still the same situation. I just lived in different places. So it was hard for me to even kind of assess that. And I never once did I bother asking her sister either, because I mean they lived with her sister. She lived with her sister for a number of years.
That's usually a good reference point. Ask the siblings.
I didn't.
Like, how is it living with this person?
I just didn't think that that's something I should ask an adult person. You know, like. You know,
I mean, nobody really thinks about that, but that's something that you should.
It's definitely an important question to ask, right? But I just didn't. For me, I'm just like, okay, you know, you get up, you see that the garbage can is full, so you take the bag out, tie it up, put a new bag in, close the lid. She doesn't put a new bag in there. She's like, oh, it's not full. I don't really need to throw anything away yet. So when I do feel like I need to throw something away, then I'll put the bag in.
And you see those little things, and those little things slowly build up. And
so like, we had an argument about that, and he says, well, give me one good reason, logical reason why I should. And every reason led to preference, right? It's just what I prefer. It's how I grew up, right? But to me, I'm like,
now it doesn't live together.
But right, but this has been an ongoing conversation about different things where I'd say, hey, can you just do this? These are habits that you do that annoy me, and I have habits that annoy you. We never really saw it as, hey, if it bothers me, and can you not do that? So it's not bother me, right? And vice versa. She didn't feel it was important and anything like that.
Right,
but
because she's in her space and
she grew up differently and all this.
Something that she's already familiar with,
which is something. These are things that we should have been doing early on.
Exactly. But that's what I'll say about that. But I do have one question that I really wanted to ask you, like way earlier, but obviously the conversation's just been so awesome.
Go for it.
Did you ever try to get your lick back? Like, when after she told you like the whole affair scenario, did you ever have the thought of like, now I need to do it too? Like, I need to get her back somehow. Like, I need to get her back in some way. I need to go out and have my own affair. Like, did you ever, like, did that thought ever like?
So fucking lootly.
Of course, it had to.
And I thought
the pettiness has to come out in those moments.
And definitely did. And I actually had two people on my list for that as a candidate.
You already had a list.
2 people that I could think of, because I actually had to think, because I'm like, if this can happen, because biblically speaking, adultery in itself is legal grounds biblically for legal grounds for separation is also in the law. So if someone can do that, you basically just cancel your marriage right there.
Essentially, yeah.
So it gave me an out, obviously. So I did think. And when the thought came through, it was more like, who could I? Is there someone else? And then I instantly thought of two people that I got along with. I'm like, hey, these two people, if I really were to start over again, who would I start with? And
so you were already on the thought of like full on moving on, not just like, I'm just gonna go to the bar, find a random chick, have a one night stand, and then I'm like, yo, I got you back.
No, that didn't come up until after. The first thought was more so of, hey, well, you basically just broke your vows right now. So you basically divorced me, gave me a reason to walk out and say bye, peace. So whatever I do afterwards is now on you. Right? We're done. That's what I was thinking. So when it came to two people, that's what it came to. I didn't want to I skipped past all the, hey, just have a fun night. I bypassed all of that. Because how many years you've been married? You gotta tell me this now. 6 years later?
That's crazy.
So I instantly went straight to that.
Yeah, because what?
So my mind went fast forward. So I had two people in mind. One was somebody I worked with. I didn't necessarily work with, but worked for the same company. Still friends, still chat from like time to time. Then there's a friend of mine that I've known from a long time ago, and it actually had me think of something of, because I do recall that when we were dating, this is before we got engaged actually, this girl was dating a friend of mine at the time. They were having some trouble in their relationships during that time, and there was like talks of, hey, are they gonna break up, this and that. And I had a feeling that I was probably better off with her. I even had, even just listening to stories about like her mom and this guy, like she doesn't like him very often, like him very much.
Was
like,
that one of those grass is greener on the other side moments?
Yeah, and I was just reflecting back, I'm like, because I remember there were times where I could have easily, like they broke up and we weren't even engaged yet. And there's times where, because we were trying to help coach the two of them.
Interesting.
And we would coach him, we would coach her. We would try, because sometimes they take him home, sometimes we take her home. And we were also in a youth ministry as well. So they were youth leaders also. And they were dating. So they've been dating for a bit, and they also dance together. They have a dance school they go to. So we kind of really connected in a lot of different areas. So they were close friends of ours that we saw and mentoring them. But there was a period of time where I feel like she would have been a better fit for me. Her mom likes me. Her mom likes talking to me. Mom would talk to me just out of the blue.
I mean, but she doesn't usually go for the guys that mom likes.
No, necessarily. But like the guy that she was dating, her mom didn't really like at all. Like her mom would stalk him. Whenever she's hanging out with him, she'd stalk. So it was pretty bad. And I'm like, this person has always been upfront, always been truthful, always been transparent, always been caring and loving, always checks in with me, how I'm doing. I'd be at the back of the church just waiting for this girl to finish yapping and go home. And I just stand there. No one's like, she would see me and come up to me and just talk to me because she's seeing by myself. Right? Like the different ways that she would be about me, I'm like, yo, this is a gem right here. Right? And she's like, I think she's like 7 years younger than me, something like that. So I started reflecting there. And I had feelings for her, on and off. So there've been moments where we get.
Those were probably just infatuation. It wasn't really anything deeper than that.
That's how it always ends up being, right? I never looked further into it. But here's the part that really got me, because I just drove out one day and I started thinking about these things, and I just said, look, I can't be in the house. I got to go somewhere. So I just went for a drive somewhere. I went all over the damn GTA. To the point where I almost went so far north because I almost lost signal. I had to pull around. I had to pull around and stop somewhere and just park to the side of the road and have a conversation.
Almost drove to Timmins. What's going on?
And I had to pull over to finish having a conversation with her, because as I was having these thoughts and reflections and all this stuff that's happened, I'm like, you know what? Maybe you were supposed to be this person.
Shit.
Because, and even during our relationship, even during the engagement stage, the marriage stage, every time me and my wife would have an argument, have a fight, and disagreement and this and that, and she would tell me, oh, maybe you'd be better off with somebody else, this and that. It makes
That's the
you
person
happy.
you thought about.
That's the only person that come to mind.
Shit.
And I never talked to her about our relationship. Never shared it up until that moment. And I'm just thinking, you know what? So after sharing all these things, and she felt the same way, but there was a part that just like even though I feel the same way, I don't feel the same way to go to that level.
Yeah.
So friend zone, right?
Yeah.
She just can't go past it.
Right.
And the fact that she didn't know because I never told her this stuff. Right? So now it's harder now, but if I shared this much sooner, there would already been a transition already.
Damn.
There would have been a transition already. So but I had to say, you know what? I fell away from God. I was like, I wasn't really I wasn't connecting with him. She was. And I said, if you do anything, don't have to say anything now, but please do fast and pray about it. And please tell me, because I'm not communicating with him, but I know you are. Because this is a serious situation here. Because I'm not going to just end this marriage before what you did and then pursue you, and then something that doesn't work out. Then I'm like, now I regret the decision. Maybe I should have just stayed and worked it out. Right? I said, just think about it. Gave her a few days, and then I reached out to her, and you know, we confirmed that, you know what, we're just friends, just leave it. Right? And at the same time, I'm glad she said that, because I don't want to lose a friendship either.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially when it's a good one. Like,
it's a good one, yeah. So, but the fact of the matter is, like, that, you know, God gives us signs and wonders and all the stuff throughout our lives. There have been many situations where we would have an argument, and she would come to the forefront of my mind.
I mean,
and I wouldn't really say anything to anybody, because it would just come to the thought, and I would dismiss it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it keeps coming up. Now, it could be an enemy tactic. Go there later, later if you want. But the fact that it came to mind, and me thinking of the moment where there was an opportunity where I could have broke the relationship off, and then waited and then pursued here.
But that particular person, did you ever have like any major disagreements with them? That's probably why that they're always at the forefront, because you're trying to find your happy place in the moment, because you're arguing with the person that you love, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to find like this moment of happiness. I'm like, yo, I need that again.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you were thinking of that. And that's the
what I was really
house
thinking,
of infatuation, I call it.
Yeah, what I was really thinking, because in the moment that I'm telling her all this, I'm really digging deep now. Those moments that I had with thinking about her in that way wasn't just an infatuation thing. It was more of, maybe I married the wrong person thing.
Shit. I mean, damn.
Maybe I got in a relationship with the wrong person.
Wow.
Because I know for a fact, despite how this guy was treating her in their relationship, she never once was anything different to make his life difficult. Like, she's a true gem, man.
Damn.
She's also very old school. She's also same like-minded like us in our generation. So, and the fact she's still single. It's mind-blowing. And it's the fact, like, how is it you being so like, she's gorgeous, smart, gorgeous, talented. She can sing, she can dance, she can do all this stuff, and you're still single.
I mean, like, you can list off somebody's accolades all day long, but it's really how they are. It could be a personal. She could have some trauma that like prevents her from getting any deeper. Her mom
is a big factor of why she's.
I don't think her mom would be the trauma, though. Wouldn't the dad be the trauma if she can't maintain a relationship with somebody? Unless it's her mom is literally driving off all the other people.
No, it's a combination of her mom driving off other people, but her mom's also very controlling. It's one of those, yeah. So
she's but then she's the one that has to break away from that,
right? Like, and she's a little bit. She's
at some point you got to break away from
but she's also. It seems like also more of like a little bit of fear, but also I have to respect my.
It would definitely be fear.
It's fear, but
and yes, it is a culture thing. Like, and it's the same.
It's a Jamaican culture thing.
Come on, it's definitely culture thing. Like, you cannot disrespect your elders
until you get your own friggin' house.
Exactly.
You're under my roof.
You're under my roof. Whatever I say doesn't matter if you're 40. You're still under my roof. You do what I say. I'm like, all right. So
it is to me it's like prison.
Damn.
That's how I look at it. Like, but for me it's like, yeah, man. Well, I'm an adult. I'm not living under my mom's roof, and that's under, hey, I can do what I want when I get out of here. So now mom can't tell me nothing. I'm now a grown ass man. So for her, still being at home, and I get it, right? And you haven't really found anybody yet. She works like 3 jobs, dude, just to keep busy, right? And so, and she's also not giving herself that opportunity. Possibly could be A, mom, A, B, probably because the last experience wasn't that great. She has herself surrounded by different close friends and family and different circles that keeps her from feeling like regret or loss. But I know that deep down she does want to settle down, right?
It's true, man. People do get lonely. I'm not gonna lie, man.
So yeah, I mean, so these conversations I had wasn't based on infatuation. It was based on me profiling whether or not I made a decision that I could have prevented by making the wrong choice, right?
And you still feel that way now, or?
When I get upset about certain things, yeah, but I'm filtering out what is just a response to anger versus how I truly feel. And right now, how I truly feel, I'm just very confused. I'm just trying to work through the emotional process so I can make a decision and be okay with it versus make a decision and regret it. And I told her this. I said, I don't want to make a decision that I'm going to regret. And that's the part that bothers me the most. And because it's a big, heavy decision, let's say, like I said, if I were to say I'm going to get divorced, I'm not going back to this thing. Mm-hmm. But then am I going to live with regret now? So either I live by myself or I go find somebody new. Am I going to regret that life afterwards? Versus do I stay and make up my mind, say stay, but then now I can't come back from this thing? Am I going to regret this decision now? Let's say we have kids. Am I going to regret this decision now? Right?
For me, I don't think regrets is necessarily the worst thing in the world, because like I always think about like the Jay-Z song whenever somebody talks about like the regrets. Like with Jay-Z, the song Regrets, he even said the hook, it literally goes, in order to survive you gotta learn to live with regrets. And that's something that like you come to realize, right? Like you're looking back at like, oh, I regret this, but not really, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes the things you regret is like, well, I do regret it, but without that happening, I couldn't be in this position that I'm in now, or something like that,
I can live with regrets, but this is, when it comes to like an emotional, like the emotional aspect of things.
Oh yeah. That's when that hits, it hits. That's
the part of regret I don't like to deal with, is the emotional and mental part of it. Right? I can live with regrets and move on and deal with it, like, shit happens. But when it comes to my mental state, because that's going to impact me, doesn't matter what I do.
Yeah.
Whether I divorce her or whether I stay, that mental frustration is just going to sit there.
You're saying that frustration turns into like trauma,
and it can turn into trauma. It can be caused by trauma. It can just, the fact that it's there, then it's having an impact on how I interact with this person. And because of the type of thing we're talking about here now, it impacts my job because I'm a fraud analyst.
Yeah.
I have to profile
being a fraud. You're trying to talk to people.
Yeah. So I've been frauded by my own wife emotionally.
Damn.
And I'm now having to deal with clients that are calling in about financial fraud.
I'm sorry, that might be the title for this episode. Oh my gosh.
Unchecked therapy / emotional fraud.
That was crazy.
So being a fraud analyst as I am, and having to profile clients when they call, I also have to look at my relationship because I also was frauded.
Yeah.
So to trust whether or not you're telling me the truth, I'm profiling you just like I profile my clients. She's not a client.
She's certainly not a client.
So you see the conflict, right? It's the same thing, but two different scenarios. How do I maintain my level of sanity when it comes to this situation with my wife? And it's the exact situation that I'm in when I have to perform with my job, which can cause a conflict. So my manager saw, because I didn't, it took me like 2 weeks to fully just grasp that my manager was saying, maybe you should just take the short-term disability, take some time off.
Oh, wow.
Like, he was suggesting it, and I'm like, no, I think I should be okay. It's just work, and like, don't want to. It got to a breaking point where I had a call, and I think I lost it. And it wasn't like a bad call. Like, my supervisor who trained me, I got her help, and she came and she's like, hey, it's okay. It's just this and that. But I was struggling with asking proper questions because I'm interrogating them. I literally told my supervisor, that trainer at that time, and I told my manager, I'm like, it feels like I'm interrogating clients because of such thing. Because I'm still interrogating her on the shit that she's doing.
Your wife, yeah, exactly.
And I said, this is going to have a negative impact on the client itself. They might report me.
Yeah.
And my manager saw that as a concern. He's like, okay, maybe you should take some time off.
Yeah.
And I tried to push it back and fight back. So it took about a month before I went on leave. I couldn't do my job. So for me to come back to my work now, even though I had another leave to a jaw injury, but even just being back at my job now and having to deal with that and deal with this at the same time, I have to switch modes, right? So it's hard to do, and it took a while to get my mind to a point where I'm okay to be at my job and work and do what I need to do, and then once I'm finished, deal with this. I took about 6 months off work.
Wow.
I was off from March to about, I'd say, August.
Oh my gosh.
And I came back in a rush because my sister's wedding was on Labor Day. So I came back to full status maybe about a few days before my flight to my sister's wedding.
Good Lord.
And I had to rush it. And the senior manager came to me, he's like, okay, just want to make sure you're not just saying you're ready to go just so you can make the trip. Like, I had to really think about the situation in hand here. I was like, you know what?
Because you both went on the trip together, right?
No, my mom said she ain't coming. And I didn't tell her until I didn't tell my mom didn't want her coming until like maybe about a month or so ago.
I mean, yeah, no, that's fair. Jamaican mom, there's no way if she's aware of what went down, like your mom was.
She's like, my mom's like, you come here, you spend time with your family, blah blah blah, because she didn't know until maybe about a few weeks prior to. Because I was not gonna tell mom. I wasn't. So there's been times where my mom would question. My mom's very much like myself. Like, she can smell bullshit a mile away.
Oh, I know. Like, moms are very like.
And she was drilling me, trying to find out. And I just listened to my wife. She said, just tell her that, because I told her, like, I don't want to tell her, but she keeps probing me. And at some point, she's gonna probe until it comes out.
She knows her kids, man. She knows her
and
kids.
We talk very, very, very often. So she said a very wise thing. She's like, just say Mom, can you just, we're dealing with some stuff right now, but just for the sake of the marriage, don't want to say anything. And that was an easy thing to say. And after that, she never bothered to complain, push further. So it was working for a bit, but at one point, I just couldn't take it. Sometimes I'd have restless nights where I can't sleep. I just get in the car and just drive over GTA.
You guys sleep in the same bed?
No, yeah. Well, we've been doing it for a while, but for the first little bit, no. She was sleeping in the spare room for a bit. But when I drove like all over the GTA, my mom called me up one day and I told her, I'm like, I'm just going. She knows that the marriage is struggling and we're having some difficulty. But when your son tells you, hey, you're having a rough time and now you're driving all over the place, what the hell is wrong? So of course she's gonna call. And at some point, I just broke down. Fine, I said, I'll fine. because the thing is, I'm thinking, let me tell her. What I should have said, what I should have thought is, maybe don't tell her yet now, because if we're both being invited to this wedding, do you think it'd be a wise idea to tell your mom this and then bring her?
Yeah.
So I really didn't want to say anything, but the moment it came out, it's like, look, I can't bring her now.
Yeah.
So how do I tell her she can't come? Without actually saying, I told my mom now.
So what did you tell her?
My mom just said, hey, look, it's going to be difficult because we have to deal with putting the dog under some sort of pet hotel.
The dog has to fly.
We had to. Well, there's that. Plus, it's last minute. So, like, okay, well, we got to find a pet hotel, which is expensive.
There's a pet hotel.
Yeah. So, like, PetSmart has these places.
Oh, PetSmart. Oh,
yeah, it's like a dog daycare center. So, if you're traveling,
call it doggy daycare, man.
fine.
Come on.
Well, that's what they say. When you call them, they literally will say pet hotel.
Oh my gosh.
And they say doggy daycare is usually a type of service they provide.
Because they handle all pets.
All the dogs. Okay. So it is part
That's
of.
why they call it pet hotel. So it doesn't matter what pet you have, they'll take care of it.
They'll take care of it. But the doggy daycare part is usually the interaction, the other dogs, and all this playtime.
Make sure that he's actually.
That's the daycare environment. That's a program they can add to the hotel stay, or you just pay the hotel stay.
Gotcha.
So it's a combination of that. It's expensive. Then last minute, I gotta buy these tickets. They're stupid expensive.
The last minute tickets are always expensive. When have they never?
Labor Day.
Come on, long weekend ticket.
And it's a ski resort I'm going to.
Please, no.
I paid $1,500 for a ticket. And I wasn't even there a week.
We were only there for like 3 days.
4 days.
Oh my gosh, nah.
Okay, so to think of that and then put him here, I'm like, this is gonna be a lot, right? So I said, maybe I'll just go, just me, whatever. You're here with a dog, it's no big deal, right? Spend time with the family. I haven't seen him in a while, whatever. So I that was not like it was a liar story in itself, but it was a good enough reason to convince her enough. Hey, you know what? I'll just take myself this time, right?
Yeah.
And it was fine. So it wasn't like I had to lie to her, but I just also had to make it, look at this scenario. What's realistic right now?
But you did tell her after the fact.
Oh yeah, I eventually told her that I told my mom about it. She was upset a little bit because my intention was I didn't want to say anything to her, and I would have to, I said, before I do, I'm gonna check in with you first. I told her I would do that because I refused to say anything.
But at the same time,
it felt like I was a little bit. I felt a little bit cornered in an emotional state. Mom was talking to me, whatever, and then so eventually just came out, and not only just came out, like it came out with detail and force, right? And I said the detail part didn't have to come out. I only went there because I was angry. I was also angry at the fact that I'm telling my mom this. So I'm not thinking, hey, wait, hey, buddy, watch your mouth, watch what. I didn't think about that.
Not at all. You just said. And your mom didn't even stop you. She just let you say it.
Oh, of course. She wants to know what's happened with her boy, right? So it's not like she's gonna say, "Don't tell me this." She wants to know what's happening, right? She lives in Florida, so it's like unless she's here,
she knows.
So it came out not necessarily as planned. It just kind of unexpectedly happened out of frustration and anger. And like I said, I'm driving all over the place. I'm burning mileages and gas for no reason. So and also I think I was maybe just outside Barrie at that point, just sitting in a McDonald's parking lot.
Drove that far,
bro? To tell you that car rides for me are also therapeutic. Not only do I have a passion for cars, I love driving them. I love driving. I love road trips. I grew up with my mom taking road trips from Florida to Kansas City. From Florida to Toronto, she's driven too. So I
like driving too. Once you get out of Toronto,
yeah. Like once you get for me, it's like it's a sense of it's therapy for me. Like I'm my best self in the car. I like being behind the wheel, right? So for me to get in the car and just sit there and not do anything, it's kind of weird. If you get in the car and you have the windows up and you're just having a conversation, notice how your windows fog up.
Oh, they fog up badly, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So to avoid that, you gotta have the car running. So I'm gonna just sit in the car, turn it on, just run the AC just to yap so my windows fog up. So you're gonna roll the window down. You don't want to be people listening. So I just drive. And, I don't mind driving. It's comfortable. It's a brand new car. It's only had 25,000 miles on it when I got it. And then 4 months later, I hear about this nonsense. So it's a brand new car. I can go anywhere right now. So I drove everywhere. I went as far as Georgian Bay. I've driven all the way to by Peterborough. I've driven almost to Ottawa. I've driven to Niagara. I've driven all to London. I've driven almost all the way up to Windsor.
These are full day drives.
Oh yeah,
because you also have to drive back afterwards. These are full day drives.
So these moments usually start anywhere between 10 o'clock at night to about midnight when I get in the car and go someplace.
Damn.
So then I don't tend to come back till like maybe 6, maybe 8 in the morning.
All-nighters.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So, and my car's usually topped up with gas anyway, so I don't really go anywhere. And I work from home. So where am I really going to drive the car? How often? So I'm like, I want to drive across the street to Shoppers Drug Mart. I do that like 2-3 times a week. How much gas and mileage am I burning doing that?
So if you guys not take road trips together?
Her schedule is different than mine. And car rides with her are not really fun. She just sleeps.
Oh, she's one of those. Just puts her to sleep.
Yeah. So, and because I've been my mom's co-pilot, she would drive, I'd be up there, so we keep each other awake. Lots of conversations, lots of music, lots of like chilling out, right? So we're bonding. How am I gonna bond with that?
Do you guys still like go on dates? When was the last time you guys
the last time we went on a date was recent. We went to a jazz festival. It was like a jazz fest.
Oh, nice.
There was a jazz performer.
Wasn't that in June?
Yeah, there was a festival, and we went to the Bistro on Victoria Street.
Nice.
And it was actually, I was kind of nervous going, because I'm like, I don't mind jazz music, but then when she told me the artist, and I listened to him on YouTube, I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna listen to this. I said, I'm taking an ear pod and I'm putting it in his ear and I'm putting on some music. He's like, he's gonna see. I'm like, and I'll just make
live musicians. It hits different. It really hits different.
Here's the thing. I said, look, I got ear pods. I got 2 of them. I got one here. You're gonna laugh when you see this. Let me pull this shit out. This will make you laugh.
Really?
I have 2 different ones, the Samsung ones, and I bought these ones.
What the heck are those?
You see them lights?
Like pills, man.
So they're shaped like the Apple AirPods.
Those are massive.
You see the AirPods? But you can get different cases that have different lettering customized and whatnot. But you see how they light up.
They're so obnoxious.
Yeah, you see how they light up.
So obnoxious.
I'm not putting those in because you can obviously see some things in my ear.
Yeah.
The Samsung was these tiny little black things.
Yeah, I have the Samsung one.
So I'm like, I'll just put those in inconspicuous and then you won't see it. Just put it in one ear. She's like, oh, okay. But we sat somewhere where he couldn't actually see us, and when he got there, and it's it's a weird nightclub setting. It's like a bar with tables and this and
jazz
that.
Bars,
and then it's got the open stage, and they had the musicians playing. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, oh great! I got my pods are in my pocket. I'm ready to pull them out at any time, and I can put it in this ear, and you won't see anything.
Isn't that the ear that your wife's standing on, though?
No, she was sitting in front of me. I was sitting here, and then the musician's over here, and there's a wall here. So I'm like, I'm in a great place to just boop. Right? I was ready for that when I got in there. But when I heard him play, I'm like, okay. It changed.
I'm telling you.
It changed.
Live band,
he didn't sound like what I was listening to. And he was also funny.
Yeah.
He had a lot of humor behind it.
Interesting. I like
so he would have a conversation about something. He would talk, and then meanwhile he's talking, the instruments are playing. They're playing something because they're trying to get to the next song that they're playing, and they just keep playing. And sometimes as he's talking, the musicians would do certain things as he's talking. So the musicians are interacting with certain things he would say.
Yeah.
So he would say a joke, he would say a punchline, and then you'd hear like the piano do a little something.
So you don't have the AirPods in now.
No, I don't regret bringing them. I bring them all the time anyway. But just listening to him, it was so interactive and so humorous and catching. It was different and creative. It caught my attention. He spoke my creative love language. So now I'm engaged. And I wasn't ready for that. So now I'm even more engaged because it's now very natural. He caught my attention when I wasn't interested. And that had me stuck there. And yeah, it was a nice little feel. We got there at that last call for food, so we were at least able to order something. And yeah, we were the last people to walk in. Of course, black people walking in. Everyone's already there. He's already playing. And the fact that we had to sit at a table at the very back, and we had to pass people, and there was old couples sitting. We had to squeeze on through. And where we were sitting, we were so close to the wall. So close to the wall. And I look back and I see at least there's another black couple at least somewhere in the audience, so I felt okay.
There's always at least one.
But man, I'm telling you, there was more than just one couple there. But just seeing that afterwards, I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad walking in late because it's like a black thing.
That's funny.
It is a black thing.
That's funny.
I don't know why it is, but it is. If we're late,
we're on time.
We're on time. I don't know why that is.
Oh no.
But yeah, so it was a definite experience. But that was the last dating experience we had, and it was a fun night. We definitely should do more of those. But when we were actually in our early stages of marriage and dating, we did do quite a bit. But like I said, our schedules would be kind of different. Like some days I'd be working till midnight, and sometimes I had to work Saturdays, right? So it only left like Sundays, and Sundays was kind of weird because we couldn't really stay too late or do too much, right? So she had to work early in the morning. So it was kind of difficult for a rough schedule for a while, but we eventually would go and catch a movie, or we'd do something from home.
So in couples therapy, like they never suggested like you guys try to actually plan a day where you guys like do like a date night type of thing once a week?
Yeah.
They never suggested that?
It's come up many times, but what's really, really the focal point right now is me not being able to trust this person.
Yeah, it's like build that back.
Yeah, and for me, like I don't feel like I can fully be myself with her. Because I'm always questioning, am I being too vulnerable here, right? And sometimes I would expect more from her when it's not happening, and I think it's not intentional. I think the intention is just not trying to cross over any boundaries, because everything she does is a trigger at some point, right? So like she doesn't do too much willingly, even though I ask her, but it's hard because it might be well received one day, but it might not be well received another day. Well, then how do I know you're good? How do I know? And it's hard. And I told him, like, I don't know how to answer that question for you. I'm still trying to answer that for myself, because that's where the anxiety piles up, because I'm dealing with two different things here. If I'm staying, this is how I am. If I'm not staying, this is how I am. So give me a reason to actually say I can trust you now, because for me to live with you and see you as my wife and can't trust you can't happen. If I can't trust you as my wife, I'm not with you. And I'm doing a little bit of both. So I'm present but not present, but I'm not dismissive. Like we talk, we engage, we interact, we're trying to work this out. Right now we're trying to work out just living arrangement, living habits, chores and stuff like that, and responsibilities and things like that. So we are working on the baseline problems that never got solved and sorted out, which is what you said should have happened much earlier.
Much earlier.
So you take a long time. You know what they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Not at all.
It literally is true, because
you're trying to teach an old dog new tricks,
right? And it's not like it's an old.
They're stuck in their ways. It's not really about being an old dog. It's someone that's stuck in their ways.
Stuck in your ways. It's already
harder for them
to start over and do something that you've already done, and to have to rechange how you act and think.
That's why it's harder for an adult to learn to swim than it is for a kid to learn to swim.
Oh yeah,
because like we think way too much in the water, and the kid's just like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's why you see people just throw them in the water and they'll learn how to swim. They'll figure it out, because those are experiences as you learn, as you go through it. So they're going to go back and then change the knob and then go and then start you just want to rush through. You just want to get to the end now. I just want to get here now. You don't realize that's the kind of easy work. It's easy work. It's harder now because we never did it. And now we're taking it slow, and it's like, okay, well, it needs to hurry up. It needs to hurry up. It's taking too long. Well, sometimes it has to be slow, because if it doesn't work, it's not going to work. We got to work on this thing, and it's going to take time. So take the time and work through it. It may take a while, and eventually things start flowing in. So there are some changes she's making that I'm noticing, right? But I'm not paying attention to them, but I'm noticing them. I'm not putting too much focus and energy on it, but I'm noticing it, and vice versa. I gotta work on me, she's gotta work on her.
Yeah.
But I gotta trust that she's doing the work herself, right? That part I can do.
You mentioned about love languages. I actually wanted to ask. You said that the musician was catering to your love language, essentially, right? So, did you? I guess this is more so a question of before the infidelity. Did you cater to her love languages, or like do you do it now? Like, do you guys even know what each other's love languages are? Like,
I don't know where all 5 of them for her, but I know the top 2.
I mean, everybody has all 5. I'm saying, like, really, everyone.
I just don't remember. I don't remember the last 3 where those orders are, but I know what her top 2 are.
Yeah.
And those are words of affirmation and acts of service. Acts of service, I think, be the primary one. And those are things I don't really care too much for me anyway. Like, those are usually the bottom tier on my list for me, right? Quality time and physical touch are
literally
the number.
Like, that's guys, period.
Number 1.
Quality time, physical touch. Like, ladies, just know that's most guys.
Some may have one as number 1 and the other as number 2, but it's still they're still the top 2.
Those 2 are the most interchangeable ones, but it's literally those 2.
Yeah. So, and that's we actually went to the love language seminar. They had one in Toronto quite years back.
I didn't even know they did that.
I didn't know. She was actually the one that told me about it. And I was like, I got very interested. She said, oh, they have a book. I was like, oh, okay. So we went, and we actually got to meet them too at the end, and they signed a book for us. But they had a whole session, and they said that when it comes to love languages, there's always this part where the couples get stuck, and it's almost like almost like the Bermuda Triangle, right? And it's this reverse pattern happens, and it's like once that pattern breaks, you just recycle, go through the same thing over and over and over again. So you're loving your partner or your other based on the love languages you want done for you.
Oh.
Instead
so you're giving your love language rather than what their
based on
love language.
Yeah, so I'm loving the other person based on love language preferences I like versus what they like.
So like you're giving physical touch more than like what she words of affirmation.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And that's the endless cycle that they tell us that we're going. We're always trying to love the other person, but not our way.
Gotcha.
And that was what was the problem. But I wasn't really cluing into that. That was a gem dropped a long time ago. And it's one of those things where you clean up the place. Oh, just like, that's where that is.
Seriously?
That's where that is. I was looking for this the whole time. It was right here.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of chiming in my head a lot more since the confession itself. And we do that a lot. And I keep reflecting back to her on that. I'm like, and the problem with her is more a problem for me because it's also a personal problem issue. She has intimacy and affection issues that has always been a problem all her life.
I think that's just the thing with black people growing up. Like a lot of us have like affection issues.
Her dad's been
there.
We
never really were too affectionate with each other. My parents were not very affectionate growing up.
Her dad was there, but he never told her he loved her.
Same with my dad. My dad's never said those words. I've never heard those words from my dad.
But she never had a relationship with her dad even when he was there, and he always pushed her away. So growing up, independent woman, thinking, well, what is really the purpose of having a man in the first place?
Man type of thing. Yeah.
She's educated. She's graduated. She's got a full-on career, making bank, seriously. And you have this person you're with that seems to look like, you're always having to cater to. Not just that he makes like more than double less than you, but also it just feels like a codependent relationship. You're independent, right? So it gets.
Like, why do you need this person?
So it gets frustrating, especially when you see there's times where he's not working. He lost his job, or he's struggling here and this and that, and he's got a mental condition, and then having to deal with that. So it's been very challenging, which was why my psychiatrist was helpful until he passed away. But even with his assistance, it was still difficult, but it was manageable because there was something in place to help me help her also, right? But I was still kind of dealing with adjusting to us being a married couple. What does that even look like, right? She would say, oh, well, you can always go look for books and this and that. I hate reading. Reading will literally put me to sleep. Unless it's something that is engaging.
I mean, there's audiobooks, though.
But it has to catch my attention.
Yeah.
Or you'll lose me. Right?
That's true.
So I'm not going to venture into audiobook because they sound very monotone and this and that. I will tune out. And if I'm reading a book, it's just pages. And you remember from Centennial when you study, it's like you're reading.
I wasn't reading that shit.
So unless the author has a way to capture my attention in some way, I'm going to lose interest halfway.
Yeah.
I bought a book, 16 Best Ways for Communication.
You still haven't read it, have you?
I haven't finished it. I bought this book last summer. Okay? Bought the book last summer.
Oh my God.
And I guarantee you I'm probably like chapter 3 or 4, somewhere in there.
God.
Not even chapter 10. Not even the double digits of it yet. Okay? But it's interesting. It's interesting for me, but because the dynamics that I'm sitting in, it's not something I really want to focus on right now. I want to focus on me and how to get through this process. So I've been pushed the book aside, but it sits on my night table next to my bed though. Right? So to get into this pattern, to get into these things, it's gonna take time. So understanding her intimacy issues and all this other stuff. So she's not really physically intimate. She likes it, welcomes it, obviously, but she's got to initiate it too. Right?
Have you talked to her about that?
Oh yeah, I've been talking for years, man. That's why I say it's a personal problem.
Is it like? Does she revert back to saying a preference thing, or does she say that she's gonna work on it?
She says she's going to work on it, but she has to be intentional. But because she's got a lot of stuff going on,
it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, and then the thing is, it's for me. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, you see me here. Like, how do you come home and not? Like I told her, like, you can come downstairs and give me a hug when you come home from work. Like, it doesn't take long to do that. Like, how long does it take? She's like, over your work.
That feels like a chore. Like literally opening the door, coming downstairs, and
because she doesn't do that. And I remember a conversation with her sister. I was like, oh, she does like just tell me you love me once in a while. Like, give me a hug, gives me something at least. And she's asking, how often do you need? Why is that even a question? That's exactly what I said. And her sister kind of laughed. And I'm like, she's like, oh man. It's like, you need to do better. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you do. Like, how do you marry someone you say you love and you don't even tell them that?
I mean, that's what brings me back to the point where, like, someone who has trauma with giving affection, that's probably someone who you probably should have lived with before you guys got married. But I guess, again, the religious aspect did take over in that regard.
She didn't really say it all that much, even in the initial beginning, even just during the stages itself. It would come up from time to time, more so then than now. But I would usually say it more, or I would usually initiate more because, it's my top 2 love language, not necessarily hers. But if I spoke her love language, it'd be something that I would take care of without her having to say anything, right? What caught her initial attention that I was actually interested in her, she was actually sick one day at a church. She was an assistant for my aunt. She was sick. I came into the office because I came with her, so I noticed that she was sick. So I just decided to leave, went to the gas station, got a thing of Halls, and I got her, like was a honey lemon tea or something.
Those ginger.
Got her, some sort of a tea, and I gave it to her. She didn't ask me for it. I said, I noticed that you were sick, you're not doing so well, so I brought you something. That speaks her love language, right? Me doing something for her without her even saying anything, this says that I paid attention, I noticed, which is how she got caught in the affair. right? These things that I should be doing, I'm not doing, and he's noticing her. He's paying attention. He sees, hey, she's not doing well. Hey, she looks like something's wrong. Are you okay?
He's performing these acts of service,
right?
For her.
And it speaks
to her language. So then she starts looking that way.
And then she's like, well, I'm getting this from work, and then I come home, I see you, right? So you're getting the best of both worlds, not realizing you were getting from two different places versus one. And she said, I'd much rather it be coming from you, but it wasn't coming from me, it was coming elsewhere. But it's almost like when you get caught into doing something simple, you're already caught into it, you're already in it, right? It's harder to get out when you're already in.
Yeah, because like I already put my foot in the water.
You're already in the water.
Maybe I can put my whole leg in the water.
Yeah, now your leg's in the water. Okay, now I'm just gonna go in the water.
Maybe another arm in there, halfway in the water now.
But the struggle and the pressure is usually just before you put your foot in the water. Well, you better, that's usually where the pressure is at its highest, because that's breaking point. But it's like, oh, I don't want to touch the water. It looks nice, but I'm like, yeah, it's nice, and man, it's hot, and brother.
It starts with the toe.
It just starts with the toe. As soon as you put the toe in, the water feels nice, and you put your foot in. The next thing, you're already swimming.
Literally.
And then you come out, but you
submerged.
Yeah, and you come out of the water, and you still got your clothes on. You're like, oh, great, I'm soaking. Well, yeah, you wouldn't. Now how am I gonna get home? I got my whole car is gonna be wet.
Everyone's gonna know I went swimming.
Right, so you got to deal with that until you dry off, right? So the dry off period for her is just from then till now. Like, she's still going for that till I'm soaked, this and that, embarrassment, blah blah blah. So I see that, and it's hard for me because I got to factor in the lack of intimacy and affection that she naturally has, trauma built based on things throughout her childhood life, on top of her being introverted, on top of that. So it questions me sometimes. I'm like, are we even compatible? You say opposites attract, and that might be true in some ways, but it just seems weird.
So the battery's about to die again.
And I tell her, I'm like, so here's the thing, I'm like, so you like video games, I see you play games, but you don't even play with me. You gotta initiate. But as much as she enjoys it, she only does things that she enjoys, like, more directly the most, right? It's not that she doesn't want to do it. She likes it, but she's very focused on priorities.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's a tough situation, but I feel it's troublesome for me that I have to keep initiating. If I want to have an intimate interaction, I have to keep initiating. And then sometimes I kind of make jokes about it, or I try to make comments like, hey, just
make it jokey,
jokes, innuendos and stuff like that. And she's like, what? So that's what sex is like for you? I'm like, well, I don't know what else, man. Like,
takes it in an offensive manner. It's like
it seems like it's a little bit offensive. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm also trying to get you to initiate
something for her.
She's got to do something. Like, it can't just be me.
Yeah.
Oh, sex starts in the kitchen. I'm like, yeah, and I don't mind that too, but do something for yourself.
That's true. That's true.
Even when things are happening, it's like, I told her one day, I'm like, I feel like I'm having sex with a pillow.
Damn.
Like, can't you just do something? Why is it always got to be the same thing? Do something, anything. Be creative. I videotaped her snoring on the couch just because I thought it was like sounded funny. I sent it to her. She records me and sends it to me. I'm like, I'm in bed. That's where I should be sleeping. And I looked at her, I'm like, can you have an original idea, please? Why are you always doing what I'm doing? Monkey see, monkey do. If I'm teasing, poking her sides and whatnot, she might do the same thing a week later because I did it. Have an original thought yourself.
It's a whole week though?
I'm just exaggerating.
Yeah, okay, I see.
But the fact is, when I do something, you have to repeat the exact same thing I did versus can you come up with a creative idea yourself? Like, you're funny. We'll do something funny that you do. Don't mimic me.
Yeah. Show me who I fell in love with, type of thing, right?
Yeah, and so for me to fully trust and be completely vulnerable and be myself, sometimes it's a bit weird, right?
That's fully understandable.
Like, I make jokes about, we have sex positions is a common topic amongst our relationship partners and whatnot, and I'll bring stuff up, and she kind of is like, oh no. I'm like, and isn't that kind of act something that you do for the other person, not for you? Right?
Yeah.
You love somebody on their love language. True. You're loving on their love language, not yours.
That's true.
That's selfish love. That's selfish sex.
100%.
So the fact that I have to talk to her about these type of things is concerning to me. It's like, well, is it even worth all this trouble right now? Not just the affair and the after effects of it, but baseline troubled stuff. Is it really worth all this?
But if you decide to go down the route of, see, now you're just, I feel like you're in almost a catch-22 scenario, because like whatever path you choose, it's not going to be like the most welcoming situation regardless. Whether you choose the route of like no longer continuing it and going down the divorce route, it's going to be like a battle financially, because you guys have to deal with like getting rid of the house and all the legal nonsense, right? And then on the other hand, where you're going to go down the route of like trying to repair things fully, you still have to deal with the mental battle of trying to get that trust back and everything.
And that's the thing.
That's why it does feel like a catch-22 in your situation.
With people making mistakes, I also have to factor in it is a mistake. But why I've assessed her character beforehand, because I'm wondering, as much as the therapy counselors are like, oh, you think she'll do it again? It's not that I think she'll do it again.
It's just going to be easier if it does.
If it does, it might be easier, which is why they say, cheater's always a cheater. But for her, it's more for me like, well, it's not that I see her going out looking for it, because she wasn't looking for it. It came her way. Well, what happens if it comes her way next time? Right?
She unlocked the
so that means that she's vulnerable for that kind of behavior if it comes in. That's something that concerns me too. But I want to make sure that I feel comfortable 100% to go ahead and trust. So it's gonna take time.
But also you have to make sure that you're working towards making that that scenario never have to happen again, right? As long as you're like, once you get to that level of trust again, you have to make sure that you are still catering to her needs as well, right? Like, you are the man of the relationship, so you must lead. She is the one that submits, right? So you must lead her down the path that'll work for the both of you.
Yeah, remember I said last time, I believe you lead a horse to water, can't make drink to the scenario. It definitely feels like
it's true, but you still have to lead the horse to the water.
Right. But
like, you give the horse the choice at the end, but you still have to take the horse to the water.
Yeah. They took the horse to the water, but the water was not really water. It was not the right place. I went the wrong way, but I walked away. I didn't tell you to drink it. You could have just noticed I wasn't there and just follow along. But you chose to drink because you thought that, you were like, oh, well, it's here, I'm thirsty. You don't know that you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you do. You didn't realize that it doesn't look like normal, but instead of just turning around, oh, hey, he left, probably should not do this. You just drank anyway. And it tastes sweet, it tastes great, this and that. I'm like, man, this is, you're like, hey, man, he's missing.
They're only ever thinking in that moment, right? They're only thinking about the long term, or the fact that they have these vows that they took, you know?
Oh, yeah. You don't think of the vows, right? And then even in that moment, how many of those moments do you have that took 3 years? And then takes 6 years in total to tell me. That's why I said, if this was a one-time thing, I would at least have been a lot better about it afterwards.
Honestly, if it was a one-time thing, maybe I would have been more forgiving. But like the fact that it was a consistent thing for 3 years, like you're stronger than me, man.
Well, the fact is
I could never.
The fact that she told 6 years later is why I'm in this mess, because I'm like, you couldn't tell me sooner. This is why why divine intervention is important, because
it is important.
If God had revealed this much sooner, I was not in a place that I could listen to her and for her to tell me.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, I would have been out. I would have snapped. I probably would have got violent. Who knows?
Shit.
Because I was not in the right state of mind then. Therapy changed a lot of it. So now God's like, hey,
thankful.
Well, you should. I think you're in a good place to listen to this now. Because when she told me, I just sat there.
That's dope, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, man. Appreciate you for telling your story.
Well, yeah.
It's huge, man. This is really big.
It's not an easy thing, but
not at all.
But I gotta say this, like, when it comes to that, if you really value the person in the relationship itself, if you see value at all, assess it before you just do anything. Look at the character of the person, who they are, that you know them for, not just the mistake that they made, and make a decision from that. Because if I had done it any other way, she would have been gone.
That's deep, man. That's very deep. Wise words from the brother Jamario. Once again, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Rich Talks. Salute to the outro.